Hello again, everyone, and thanks so much for joining us for this Friday's edition of Alaska Weather. I'm Dave Percy, meteorologist with the National Weather Service on this 30th day of October 2020, and I'll be hosting today's show. Up first, we've got a winter storm warning for heavy snow there in the northern panhandle. You see the red shaded area there north of the Juneau mark, and that's for, let's see, the area for the Klondike Highway and to White Pass above 2,000 feet. And that's out for tonight, and looking for 9 to 14 inches of snow with winds gusting 40 miles an hour. So some of that will be blowing around, obviously. But 9 to 14 inches, some areas could have even higher amounts, but that'd be more localized. And again, that's out for tonight into tomorrow. And up to the north, we've got another winter storm warning out. That's for the eastern, or the, let's see, specifically the Dalton Highway and northeastern Brooks Range. And some pretty heavy amounts are expected there, too. It's out through the weekend, actually through Sunday night until 7 a.m. Monday morning. Looking for anywhere from 6 to 8 inches of snow with maybe as high as 15 inches in some areas across, during the weekend here, kicking into effect sometime tonight, and then all weekend long into early Monday morning, looking for a continuous snow or periods of pretty good snowfall. Otherwise, back to the west, those are winter weather advisories, western Arctic coast, the northwest coast, in towards Kotzebue and around Selawik, and the northern Seward Peninsula. Winter weather advisories for snow and gusty winds, reducing visibilities not to the point that you see in the warning area, looking at 1 to 3 inches of snow, give or take, in those areas. And that's out for tonight, ends tomorrow morning. And also some high surf there as well, like on the north side of the Seward Peninsula and the exposed coastal areas, seeing elevated surf with the gusty winds and, of course, the wide open ocean out there. So from there, taking a look, no other watches, warnings, or advisories for the other locations in the state. Satellite showing a pretty vivid cold upper low dropping southeastward onto the western Arctic coast, bringing snow and some pretty good winds with it. In fact, pretty strong winds. Cape Lisburne seeing gusts 61 miles per hour this afternoon. And let's see, Kivalina was seeing gusts upwards of 45 miles an hour or so as well. And so pretty windy, along with in fact, I'm more of a wind producer than a precip producer there. There's been maybe less than an inch of snow at the locations that I saw in the last 12 hours. Some snow showers reaching the northern Seward Peninsula. And then something of a break, looks like clearing over St. Lawrence Island. Bering Sea, not too bad. Strong low pressure area south of the eastern Aleutians resulting in pretty strong winds there as well. St. George Island, winds gusting out of the north-northeast up to 61 miles an hour this afternoon. And let's see, Unalaska had gusts to about 45 to 50 miles an hour as well, and then about 35 to 45 for the Alaska Peninsula. And up to Kodiak, Sitkinak Island had winds gusting just under 50 miles an hour there, but much lighter as you head north. And it was breezy over areas of south central Alaska. Seward seeing wind gusts 25 to 35 miles an hour with pretty chilly temperatures, even colder up over the interior, temperatures in the lower teens there in the Tanana Valley, and stayed below zero all day. Arctic Village and Attitude Pass around 5 to 6 below. Over the Panhandle, not a lot of rain yet. Yakutat had about 0.3 of an inch and 1/1500 at Sitka, but that'll increase with that mass of moisture sliding up to the east-northeast. A very strong southwest jet associated with it. The main low center, though, way back south of the eastern Aleutians. And you can see the pretty tight gradient there associated with that low, especially on the west and north quadrant there ahead of the occluded front. And again, that's spreading moisture up to Kodiak Island and the strongest winds over the southern island there, but very brisk winds across the eastern Aleutians, of course, up to the Pribilofs and into Bristol Bay as well. But those lighten up markedly as you just get inland a little farther into the Kuskokwim Valley around Iliamna, Cook Inlet. Not light winds with some clearing. High pressure settled in over the eastern Tanana Valley or upper Tanana Valley, really dominating the eastern interior. A few snow showers over the Wrangell Mountains. And then the rain on the increase there ahead of the warm front that's off to the southwest of the Panhandle. And then up off the Arctic coast there, that low center just right along the central coast there. And that circulating surges of moisture around. Nothing too terribly heavy yet, but should be pretty consistent. And that whole system will be dropping southeastward. So those strong winds they have on the western Arctic coast should begin to lighten up later tonight. In fact, you can see much less gradient there as one of those troughs actually develop into a weak low center. And that'll push some light snow into the northern Kuskokwim Valley and into the central interior, all staying north or northwest of the Alaska Range. And weak ridging, look for some clearing over the Yukon-Kuskokwim Delta areas into Bristol Bay. Still breezy, but winds trending downward, especially over the eastern Aleutians. Windy all night tonight. Chance of snow showers at Pribilofs back up into the Bering Strait, with next front edging rain eastward toward the Chimay-Attu area late tonight. Otherwise, look for heavy rain, lighter at times for the central and southern southeast coast, and winter storm warning above 2,000 feet there for the Klondike Highway to White Pass for 9 to 9+ inches of snow. For tomorrow, that system moving pretty slow, but the low center just about on top of Yakutat at mid-afternoon Saturday. And call it rain heavy at times for the remainder of the southeast coast with diminishing winds. And chance of light snow along the west coast all the way up to the Arctic coast with high pressure over the Russian Far East and the weaker center down over the southern Bering Sea. And the gradient between that and the next system out west probably bring some gale force winds in late in the afternoon for Chimay-Attu. And then on Sunday, that whole system slides off to the southeast as cold air entrenches itself over the northern Bering Sea and eastern Bering. And quite a winter pattern here coming up. Cold and windy for south central Alaska, as well as the Copper River Basin. Some light snow along the upslope areas of the Alaska Range. Strong winds with heavy rain moving to the central and southern southeast coast with a narrow band of storm force winds ahead of that cold front there as it edges in toward the coastline. And then windy with winter-type conditions over the Lynn Canal Glacier Bay area. Fair and cold over the interior and periods of snow on the Arctic coast and north slope. Lows tonight, generally below zero, anywhere from 5 to 15 below eastern interior. Teens for the Arctic coast. Teens for the southwest coast, or Bristol Bay. Upper 20s for the southwest coast. Mid-30s for the Pribilofs, and 35 to 45 for the Panhandle. Highs tomorrow, 40s, lower 50s southeast coast. Lower to mid-20s south central Alaska. And the teens again for the central Tanana Valley. Single numbers on the east side. And near 40 for the Pribilofs and lower 40s for the Aleutians. They'll be followed by lows Saturday morning. Copper River Basin there, Gulkana dropping toward 20 below zero, below zero over much of the central and eastern interior with colder air coming in, and mid-20s St. Lawrence Island, 20 to 25 southwest coast, near 20 for Kodiak, mild in the Panhandle, and definitely mid-30s for the Aleutians, a little chillier for the Pribilofs, followed by highs upper 30s for the Pribilofs, and single numbers in the interior, and a little below zero, below zero for the
And now, aviation weather around Alaska.
Moving on to flying weather. IFR there for the central eastern Beaufort Sea coast and southwestward across the central north slope to the western Brooks Range, and then southeastward into the Kobuk and Koyukuk valleys, and expanding eastward across the upper Yukon Valley, and right on down into the central interior and northern Kuskokwim Valley area with marginal VFR possibly up to the northwestern Alaska Range, and VFR eastern interior there, Eagle on down across the upper Tanana Valley 40-mile country, Copper River Basin, Prince William Sound VFR, and Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Madawaska in the valley. As you can see, Togiak Bay, Bristol Bay, Shelikof Strait, VFR. East side of Kodiak there, marginal, as well as the south side of the Alaska Peninsula. Fox Islands, marginal. VFR 8 Akanatka, maybe the Pribilofs, and then some marginal VFR along the southwest coast, northern Bering Sea down into the western Aleutians. Panhandle, IFR for the mostly IFR. And for the afternoon, southeast coast, all IFR. Marginal VFR Yakutat, and cuts off VFR west of Yakutat across the North Gulf Coast, Prince William Sound. South Central Alaska, Copper River Basin, northward to the Yukon River there and into the northern flats. Area of lower flying conditions with some marginal IFR, as you can see in the eastern interior there, right up to possibly the northwestern slopes of the Alaska Range. And marginal VFR from the Bering Strait southward St. Lawrence Island to the Pribilofs, Nunivak Island, and then right around Adak out west and westward to Shimianatu, but east of Adak, Atka, Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula, Bristol Bay, Kodiak, all VFR. And for the day, or for the morning Sunday, narrow band of IFR from the Barter Island, Kaktovik area down across the Brooks Range, and some of that spilling south of the mountains there, but not too far. Otherwise, the Cold Butte Koyukuk Valley is basically VFR. And then back into the IFR over the eastern interior and down toward, the Midtown Valley looks IFR there for the Fairbanks area to the Alaska Range, north side. South side a little better, but marginal VFR down to the Talkeetnas. North Gulf Coast, Cook Inlet, Kenai Peninsula, Kodiak, as you can see, all the Gulf of Alaska VFR, western interior VFR. All along the Yukon River Valley there, up to about Fort Yukon is VFR, and then some marginal VFR southwest coast. IFR, another system pushing in to the far western Aleutians. VFR for the Pribilofs, Fox Islands, Alaska Peninsula. And for the afternoon, stays VFR southeast Bering Sea and most of the eastern Bering Sea as well, with marginal VFR from Unmak Island westward to just west of Kiska, Shimianatu IFR. And a few areas of IFR along the Brooks Range are always marginal on out to the Arctic coast. Not too bad over the interior, except for the marginal VFR there in the Tanana Valley. On down to maybe some IFR, Northway Tok, maybe Nabesna, but Copper River Basin VFR. Southern Panhandle IFR, far northern areas VFR. Passes Anatuvik and Adigan, IFR tomorrow mostly, and for Lake Clark and Merrill, VFR. And rainy, possible marginal VFR western entrance at times, otherwise VFR, and windy north entrance, possibly a chance of some marginal VFR. Isabel, though, VFR. Mentasta, same forecast. Tanita, VFR. Portage, looking good. Chilkoot and White, IFR. And for the freezing levels there, more of a southwest flow, so 2,000 feet up into, just about to Haines or maybe Skagway. Otherwise, at the surface there, tomorrow morning, south of the North Gulf Coast, Kodiak Island, and then back up to near the Pribilofs, 4,000 feet over the western Aleutians. And icing, we've got, two systems, the main creating some occasional or considerable moderate rime icing, the one pushing into the southeast coast, a good southwest flow of that. So pretty much considerable moderate rime icing there, and then that next front pushing another slug of increased icing threats in toward the western Aleutians. And the jet stream, cold upper low, coming southeastward into the central interior, west central interior by tomorrow afternoon. Another cold upper low off the eastern Arctic coast, and 140 knot southwest jet right into the southeast coast, northwest 95 or 95 to 105 over the central Aleutians. And at 9,000 feet, 40 to 45 knot north-northwesterlies, pulling cold air southward over the western interior and milder southwest flow for the panhandle. And at 3,000 feet, southwest 50 knots right into the central panhandle, northerlies 35 knots over the western interior, high pressure in the Bering Sea, then increasing winds west of Shimianatu, turbulence, moderate chop for the southeast coast, North Gulf Coast, southern Kenai Peninsula, and the western Aleutians late in the afternoon.
Dual polarization technology is a major upgrade to the current radar system. It allows forecasters a better idea of what's actually out there and can help keep you safe.
Current radar technology transmits and receives information in the horizontal direction, which is very limited. Dual polarization technology, in addition to the horizontal, transmits and receives vertical energy, which allows forecasters to get information about the size, shape, and phase of the precipitation. We can use that information to better determine the precipitation type to expect at your given location.
There you have it. This new technology is currently being installed in radars across the country and is already being used by National Weather Service forecasters to produce better, more accurate forecasts. Learn more here and follow us. Want to know about the future of weather radar? Well, the National Severe Storms Lab has it here with its new phased array radar. Let's check it out.
It's a non-moving radar. It has 4 faces of the antenna, each pointing in different directions. One of the big advantages is that we're seeing so far, it can sample the area around the radar in less than a minute, maybe even a half a minute. And this is 5-6 times faster than what they can do today.
NSSL is leading the development of future weather radar with this project. Learn more here and follow us. The Storm Prediction Center is one of the NOAA weather partners. They are located in the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. Greg Carbon gives us a glimpse into what the SPC does.
Our mission is to analyze and forecast severe thunderstorms and the potential for tornadoes, large hail, and damaging winds from those thunderstorms across the lower 48 states, 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. One of the primary missions of the Storm Prediction Center is the issuance of severe thunderstorm and tornado watches across the country when conditions appear to be coming together to support the development of severe thunderstorms and tornadoes.
The world-class meteorologists in the Storm Prediction Center specialize in severe weather and keeping you safe. Learn more here and follow us.
The National Severe Storms Lab is working on increasing the lead time for severe weather warnings. The national average for tornado warnings is currently 13 minutes, but more notice would be helpful, especially for those in charge of moving large groups to shelter. Warn on Forecast will help forecasters issue hazardous weather warnings earlier. The project will give them more info about the chances of strong winds, large hail, and even tornadoes.
Currently, warnings are created by forecasters looking at the atmosphere outside, understanding its volatility, and then comparing that to how they see the Doppler radar presenting what's going on inside thunderstorms. Warn on Forecast is an idea where we're going to take the massive amounts of satellite, radar, and surface data and stick them all into a very high resolution prediction model. And then by producing new forecasts every 15 or 20 minutes, the forecasters hopefully will be able to use that model to produce warnings that extend out to an hour.
Before the National Weather Service can use this tool, it must be developed and tested. One big challenge will be deciding how to get the model predictions to the forecasters.
I'm going to keep this one very low. I'm just adjusting the track.
These hazardous weather prediction models are going to produce a huge amount of output. And this fire hose of data is just too much for forecasters to handle in real time quickly. So in order to help deal with that, NSSL has developed a related project called Facets. And Facets is the methodology which will enable forecasters to focus very quickly on the most important threats.
Once Warn on Forecast and Facets are proven to be reliable and effective, then forecasters will be better able to inform you of threats nearby. Learn more here and follow us.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is located at the National Weather Center in Norman, Oklahoma. It is used for experiments that will allow forecasters to learn and apply new technologies.
The Hazardous Weather Test Bed is a really unique space throughout all of NOAA. And this is where the researchers and the operational folks come together in a common space to solve operational problems and to test new research tools that the research community is working on. The goal is to accelerate the transfer from research to operations of the newest tools and techniques.
People come from around the world to collaborate on this unique project.
And we can bring together not only NOAA people, but also university people, faculty, researchers, private sector meteorologists, folks working in other countries in meteorology, forecasters can all come together and focus on what the problem of the day is with the forecasters.
Each spring, several experiments occur in the hazardous weather test bed. Learn more here and follow us.
What are you looking at? And what are you ignoring? Did you notice the NOAA logo in the corner? Forecasters have a lot of information in front of them too. Every second counts during severe weather, and decisions about where to focus are constantly being made. This could be even more challenging in the future. Phased array radar will produce 4 to 6 times more information than what we have now, which brings us to the question researchers are hoping to answer. Will more radar information affect forecasters' decisions?
From our past experiments, we've learned a lot about how forecasters think during the warning decision process, but we've also learned that those thought processes are very complex, and for that reason, we need a better way to be able to track forecasters' cognitive activity.
Inbounds and possibly golf ball sized hail.
An eye tracker is a piece of technology that is used to determine in real time where someone's eye gaze is located. And these eye trackers are typically video-based, which means a camera sits below a computer monitor, and with infrared light and vector analysis, we can determine where a person is looking and how their eyes are moving.
Eye tracking is already being used in the medical field and air traffic control. Using similar research methods, NSSL is discovering the benefit for weather forecasting too. Phased array radar will give forecasters a lot more to think about. Understanding their decision-making process will help researchers develop even more user-friendly tools. So what's the benefit for you? Even better weather warnings. To learn more, check us out online and follow us on Facebook and Twitter.
And now, marine weather around Alaska.
Welcome back. Looking at coastal water forecasts here. Gale warnings along the southeast coast tomorrow, as well as the inside waters. Southeast winds 35 knots, Stevens Passage and Clarence Strait, and south 35 for Lynn Canal Glacier Bay with 7-foot seas. And south to southwest 35 out along the outer coastline, and then turning northwest at 25 there, south and southwest of Yakutat. Those will become northeast 25 for the north coast on Sunday, with seas up to 18 feet. Full gales on the south coast with that tide gradient ahead of the active frontal system that's pressing in the afternoon. So 40 to 45 knots south to southeast wind, seas 20 to 21 feet. Gales back into Clarence Strait from the south at 35, and 45 knot northerlies for Lynn Canal, Glacier Bay with even higher gusts with seas at about 9 feet. Prince William Sound tomorrow, small craft advisories north 25 knots, northwest 25 knots for the eastern North Gulf Coast, and north at 30 for the western North Gulf Coast, northwest 30, 10-foot seas for the Barren Islands. Gale warnings, Kamishak Bay, northwest 35, seas 8 feet, north winds 20 knots for Cook Inlet. Small craft advisories for Cook Inlet on Sunday, northerlies 25, seas 9 to 10 feet, about the same for Kamishak Bay. And north winds 30 knots, pretty uniform wind pattern here. Prince William Sound, North Gulf Coast, Barren Islands, seas running 7 to 9 feet there and up to 6 feet in Prince William Sound. Kodiak Island, north winds 30 knots, 7 to 14-foot seas. And Sitkinak to Castle Cape, north winds 30 knots, seas 16 feet. Alaska Peninsula, northeast winds 30 knots, 13 to 17-foot seas. Small craft advisories for Bristol Bay, northeast at 25. Those will become more northerly on Sunday, hold at 25 knots, seas around 5 feet for the Alaska Peninsula. Northeast winds at 25 knots with 7 to 8-foot seas. And Castle Cape to Sitkinak, and up the east side of Kodiak Island, north winds 30 knots, 8 to 10-foot seas. Shelikof Strait also looking at small craft advisories with northwesterlies at 25. Fox Islands winds northeast 30 knots, except south side of Unalaska Island, there'll be gales at 35 knots from the north. Seas running 15 to about 20 feet. Central Aleutian, small craft advisories, northeast 25 to 30 knots. And then, especially in the afternoon, coming back up to gale force for Shimiat, 2 out of the southeast at kicking up to 40 knots. And then those will turn northeast at 30 with 16-foot seas on Sunday. Gale warnings, Amchitka Island, northeast 35. 30 to 35 knot winds, Adak and Atka. Out of the northeast, 12 to 14-foot seas. Small craft advisories for the eastern Aleutians, east-northeast, 25 to 30 knots with 8 to 11-foot seas. Southwest coast, small craft advisories there. South of Nunivak Island, north winds 25 knots, 7-foot seas. North at 20, excuse me, 20 knots for the Pribilofs, the seas 11 feet. Small craft advisories, northern Bering Sea, St. Lawrence Island, and Norton Sound, where winds will be 25 knots. And for Sunday, northern Bering Sea, lighter winds, St. Lawrence Island, north at 10 and 15 knots for Norton Sound. Yukon Delta coast, light out of the northeast, 10 knots, east 20, St. Matthew Island. But small craft advisories for the Pribilofs, east winds 25 knots, seas 6 feet. And up along the central Arctic coast, we'll call it north at 20 tomorrow, eastern Beaufort Sea coast, southwest 15. And brisk wind, or small craft advisories, not ice covered yet. So small craft advisories, western Arctic coast, all the way down to Wales, northerlies 25 to mostly 30 knots with 8 to 10-foot seas. And for Sunday, lighter winds there from Wales all the way up, even on the western Arctic coast, will be about 20 knots on the central coast as well. Otherwise, Cape Beaufort to Wales, northwest at 15, and brisk wind advisories now for the eastern Beaufort Sea coast, west-southwest at 25. And for tonight, look for periods of snow and a pretty windy evening there on the western Arctic coast with winter weather advisories out tonight all the way down to the northern Seward Peninsula. And anything south of the Strait's going to be pretty isolated and light and not too significant. Slowly diminishing winds for the eastern Aleutians, Alaska Peninsula, but they don't end altogether. And heavy rain, central and southern southeast coast winter storm warning, Klondike Highway to White Pass, and also for the eastern northeast Brooks Range through the weekend for the Brooks Range there. And periods of snow again with westerly flow, but colder over the interior and stormy over the panhandle. That continues into Sunday. Yet another system, strong low active front, very tight gradient, rain heavy at times, winds gusting 40 to 60 miles an hour, mixed precipitation in the north, and cold over the interior. Thank you for joining us.
These forecasts are for planning purposes only. Call 1-800-WX-BRIEF for a formal pre-flight briefing. Always file a flight plan before you go flying. The U.S. Coast Guard Auxiliary urges you to leave a float plan with a friend or the harbor master before you go boating.